Let's go. Welcome to Overwatch, and welcome to an episode of Coaching the Many. I should actually turn off this overlay on the top. No, not that one. Not that. Wrong overlay. Welcome, anyway, to an episode of Coaching the Many. It's been a while. It's been a little while. So I'm going to do this at the start of the episode, actually, rather than the end, because I know it gets better traction at the start of the episode. But if you do have footage, then you can send it in, because it's been a while, and so the amount of footage I've got is actually quite small. So if you want to send in some footage, especially like recent ranked footage, absolutely now is the time to do so. OAMreviews@gmail.com, including the title, the hero name, and the description. And then include if you're a sub or not. Subs have slightly higher priority. For example, today's video will be a sub. And then, yeah, just a link to a YouTube video, for example, of your gameplay footage, and that is more than enough for me to maybe take a look at it. Otherwise, there's no harsh requirements. I'd just say, like, avoid a Mercy one, for example, because I'm just doing a Mercy one now. And I like to do a little bit of variety. So absolutely send footage in, because I need footage, because Coaching the Many sort of went on the back burner a little while as I slide Twitch chat off to one side. Just a number of reasons, but very, very busy. Tomorrow as well, I'm thinking of doing Coaching the Many earlier, so it doesn't clash with Overwatch League, because Overwatch League is, of course, earlier on specific dates. So then, a couple of things before we begin. This is a 3K Mercy game. So basically, you know, border of Diamond and Platinum, and it has all the trappings of a 3K Mercy game. Right, a double sniper to start off with. Spoiler, this doesn't go anywhere. Double off tank, and yeah. So we can already see where this is going. It's an interesting start to the match, to say the least. So then, let's hope that maybe the team comp gets better. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Let's begin with Mercy, right? Let's begin with Mercy. And also, for reference, this is pre the Retribution patch, so this is pre-Reaper changes, pre-May changes. Shouldn't have too much effect anyway for Mercy. Right, this is a worrying sign, right? And then you're looking through and it's like, oh, great. Okay, first and foremost, I want to talk about team comps, and I want to talk about the idea of what you're doing when you're triple queuing. For example, because you triple queue, conventionally, you triple queue to have a strong team lineup, right? That gives you a nice little advantage, because you can sort of determine what half the team is going to be, so you can make sure that half the team is some form of cohesive unit. Not double sniper. Now, I know that we see double sniper sometimes in the Overwatch League, and that might make you go, oh my god, but double sniper is viable. First and foremost, you are not Overwatch League players. If you're watching this video, chances are you are not an Overwatch League player. You do not play Widowmaker as well as they do. You do not play Hanzo as well as they do. You don't have the same value on those heroes. That's just a fact. I don't, you don't. Only the Overwatch League players and like various other pros, or like pure diehard top 500 level Widowmaker mains might have that kind of value. So it's like, ugh.
Actually, no, that wouldn't be very.
I saw a couple of people speculating that this is on EU. This is NA. Now the team is actually quite communicative, and the team, to its credit, somewhat doesn't flame. So it just deals with it, right? And this is generally my mentality: is if I have a bad team comp, I'll just deal with it. Amazing start. One of the minor things that we'll talk about with Mercy. You need to be flexible with your beam, and one of the things with Roadhogs that you can do to really help them out is just keep an eye on when this hook comes out. If the line goes taut, you know, if it like snags on something, try and swap as fast as you can to get the damage jump beam. So the moment you see that connect, right, it's like it's part of the animation that it connects. If I go into slow-mo, you can see very clearly. And this is something that you need to build awareness for in general, as like across all heroes. There, the connect. Pulls in. Damage amp onto that Reinhardt straight away. It helps him so much in confirming the kills. Now the kill comes through anyway, because there's Discord Orb involved as well, and there's a Hanzo and a Widow and everyone shooting at him. But very, very important is to make sure that you are trying to support that Roadhog once the hook connects. This is true for every hero as well, which is you should be doing damage. Now then, something is said that made me quite funny. Well, I found quite funny. Listen closely.
Nice, go, go, go. Like that hook. Get in there, they got no shield.
There it is. Get in there. They've got no shield. Neither do you. Yeah, the team lineup is still 2 off tanks, 2 main tanks, 2 off tanks, 2 snipers, 2 support. This is the problem with team comp,
Make space for our snipers.
right? And this also, like, to play a team comp like this, things have to go pretty perfectly. You have to turn this into kills pretty quickly. One minor thing here that instantly happened is, as Mercy, there are very, very seldom reasons that you need to actually walk out into the open. I know we're worried about this D.Va, but our positioning here is actually leaving us in a little bit of trouble. Right? We move into a good position, so I know we do, like, if you let the Roadhog go a little bit further, by the way, then dash, you'll actually dash a little bit better across this. Just a very minor mechanical thing. Being behind this this statue, though, is actually pretty good for us. We can actually heal around it pretty easily, so we can quite easily put healing around that. And just use this as complete safety. And then there's no reason for us to really enter this space until we are ready to, like, start pushing into here. And I know that this is perhaps what we were expecting. The Roadhog would just run in, but just be very, very careful when doing this, because they have a Widowmaker of their own, for example. This is where you end up sort of stepping out and taking a bullet to the head. And if you take a bullet to the head as the Mercy, that's really bad, because you don't have a res. Because no one could pick you up, right? So this is where things start to fall apart for this team. The D.Va spends all of her time playing around with this this Reaper in the hotel. And I know that we call out for, you know, oh, hey D.Va. Like, the D.Va needs to be with you guys, but she's just pissing about with this Reaper, not doing anything. There's one thing that I want to comment on, though, which is this. There's a reason why Mercy Widow is such a powerful combo. And that's because Widows are frequently resable, right? So when this kill comes in, sure, you can be healing this guy, you can be healing our friend Hypno Beam, you can be supporting our friend Hypno Beam, but there's nothing stopping you just, like, running to a little bit of cover, running, say, this way, so that you are potentially out of line of sight, though it looks like the Widowmaker's over here, so you're actually okay here. And turning around and seeing where the Widow died. This is always worth checking, because as we go through the footage, we see where the Widow died. Widow's dead here. Their Mercy has gotten off a res. Your Mercy, you, have not. That's a big deal, right? Because there's a statistic in Overwatch that existed for quite a long time until res got changed, which is that the person who gets first pick has, like, a vastly high proportion of win rate. Varies depending on hero, like killing a Lucio first is like a 90% win rate for the team that killed the Lucio. Killing a Widowmaker first, of course, is going to be less impactful, perhaps. But getting that res to equalize things up back to a 6 versus 6 is very, very important. So just do not be afraid to sort of back off, pick up someone, and then continue the fight afterwards. This fight, by the way, is basically over now. Their team is regrouped and is pushing back in. You guys need to just back away, regroup, build up some ults, and get ready to go. And so this is where, if you want to be playing like a shot caller, this is where you'd be calling to back up, and we start doing so, at the very least. Be very careful, again, moving into that choke point, because there is a Widowmaker around. Anytime you're out in the open, you've got to assume that you're going to get your head blown off, right? It's very, very scary. And again, see, we're doing this again where we're going around this corner. There's no need for us to actually go around this corner. Enemy team is going aggressive. Right, you can tell this is previous patch as well, because now she goes back to Heroes Never Die with that voice line. Helen Stad Nicked or whatever it is. So, yeah, the enemy Valkyrie's coming. This signals to you that your team should probably just back away. The Reaper is very scary, but he's backed off as well. If he came in, that's panic time. But we decide to push back because, hey, Hanzo actually manages to get his 2 kills all game. There's a couple of things we need to consider with this Valkyrie. First, there is a Widowmaker, okay? Again, Widowmaker can kill you on Mercy, so play carefully. The Sky, like the Sky meta, I want to say, on this game, when you're playing it in the air, is usually just to abuse the shit out of the Oldersworth Hotel, right? This is a great big building on the side of Kings Road Point A. Okay, and you can use that verticality, you can use that vertical cover. You can still provide healing very easily onto the point while still being safe behind this. If you start fighting around in the middle, then there's a good chance you might just be shot and killed. The other thing is, we want to actually be higher in the air than we are, and we're going to see a very good demonstration of why. Of why we're going to see, of why we want to be quite high in the sky. Because there's something on its way. Widowmaker shot, Death Blossom, both of us die.
Oh my god. Help.
We don't actually need to be this close. Right, we want to make use of the range we have. We want to make sure... She's dead. There's a Mercy. This is why I harp on about the Widowmaker, guys. I might have seen some of this footage before. So yeah. And even if she's dead, there's no excuse to be around that corner. I don't care. You cannot be. You are not more effective around the corner than you are. Sorry, you're not more effective. Yeah, around the corner, out in the open, than you are just floating up, like up here, a little bit higher up here, putting the heal beam down onto either this guy or this guy, and the team pushes in. Would have mitigated some of the damage here. Might have actually made this Transcendence work.
Oh my god.
That positional mistake was the difference between, hey, him getting play of the game and us winning. They throw in a nano boost as well for some weird-ass reason. Fight is done.
It's all my fault. Hey, can we get a main tank?
The Zen is having a mental breakdown as well. Honestly, this is a team lineup that you guys were never going to win with unless, like, a miracle happened. So, Widowmaker swap now to a Tracer. You can't res that because it's just out in the middle of the choke point. Again, the D.Va is obsessed, by the way. The D.Va is absolutely obsessed. We've dove a little bit too deep here again. Exploiting sightlines is such a big deal here. We don't want to go this far. Hugging walls, like staying out of line of sight. Mercy is very, very good at actually healing from relative safety. So around this corner, for example, if you consider where the enemy team is standing, they're all over here, and I think, you know, they can even be sort of over in this area. If you are hugging this wall, they can't see you. Unless they're like over right in the edge of this. Then they can, but you can play from here. And then when it's safer, then you can start moving out and around. This is also the danger of just not having that Reinhardt.
Reaper Discord behind it.
D.Va 1, out of the way.
Got me. D.Va down. Traded.
You can rest that, you can rest that, you can rest that. Please rest that, please rest that. So this, like, if we aren't going to res this, this fight is over, by the way. This fight is absolutely over. Because we're down 2 now, so now it's a 4 versus 6, and well, they're down 1, so it's a 4 versus 5, but with this as well, like, this is the time when you just run in and you just start rezzing that. What this means, what sometimes will happen is, like, this Reinhardt will just rush out and try and kill you, and the Road Dogg will just kill him. You'll be surprised at how people are baited by that kind of stuff. General rules of thumb for can I res or not is if the target is out of line of sight of where the enemy team is, then yes, you can probably res. Do I have tanks to cover me? Then yes, you can probably res.
No, we need a main tank. We need a main tank.
I don't know. We just need kills. I'll be a main tank.
So people discussing, you know, oh, we need a main tank. Yes, I completely agree that you guys could use a main tank. And now suddenly, I think you guys have, well, the team has ditched the D.Va and now picked up a Reinhardt. Because. Dragon Strike clears the point. There's a Nano Valkyrie coming in. Use yours. Now's a good time. Okay. Pick up the Junkrat. Good. Notice that, hey, we have something of a more standard team comp, and hey, look how instant that win was. Don't get me wrong, the Nano Valkyrie was a contributing factor. But notice how easy this was when, you know, you just can walk in behind a Reinhardt, even though the team doesn't actually walk in behind the Reinhardt, walks in behind the Dragon. This is too much movement again, by the way. Like, we don't have to go all the way. One of the things we should be getting used to, just like cancelling the dash here will be fine. The reason why you want to do that is because then it takes you less time to get back to where the rest of your team are, and you're too close to the doorway if you go like that close. Lol.
I got 3.
Not Mercy.
Behind you. Behind you guys. Help back, left side, help back.
No shift. Discord.
Okay.
That's just about walls. It's fine, it's fine.
The team still has a lot to be afraid of.
Does anyone know when wall started, like the time?
It's gone by now, by the way.
Like 15 seconds ago, maybe?
Wall hacks last 14 seconds. For frame of reference. So hey,
shield if you want to use it.
I know, guys.
this part of King's Row for Mercy is honestly going to be pretty straightforward.
Sorry, Discord.
We should just be spending a lot of our time
Ryan.
around where the payload is.
Shatter.
We can be the one to range forward a little bit, but honestly, I prefer letting Zenyatta do it, as weird as that sounds. He's a little bit more useful in a fight itself
Coming up behind us, it is a
Got
Reaper
trans.
than a Mercy is.
upstairs area.
Yep, so you got a Reaper behind you. That's probably a sign that you should be expecting a Death Blossom from above.
Everything out.
So this corner here is actually extremely dangerous. Luckily the Reaper gets killed, okay. Just for frame of reference though, if there's something like a Reaper or even like a Junkrat up there, it makes this corner very dangerous because he can just drop down here and then just Death Blossom. And so you do want to be careful of stuff like that.
Reaper, no ship.
But he
Reaper
gets
one.
picked off and killed.
Widow Discord in the back. Alright, broken toast.
Isn't it weird how having a main tank makes a big difference?
Get this freaking
Diva Discord.
scatter us.
Enemy team is now staggering like crazy. Again, just keep the payload rolling. Damage jump on Hanzo, Zen, or Junkrat would all be fine here.
Going on Ana.
Ryan Discord.
Ooh, okay, again, be very, okay, especially on payloads. There's no reason for us to be up here. This is actually one of the bad habits that tilts me more than anything else, is people standing on top of payloads for no reason. The payload is actually like mobile cover. It's one of the few examples of mobile cover that exists in Overwatch. It's extremely useful as a support to abuse the hell out of that fact. Because
Ryan Discord.
like the lesson comes up in like a split second. Especially because our Reinhardt is now fire striking. Like that's scary, right? And when you're standing on top of a payload, especially the King's Row payload, it's huge. Yeah, like it's just like, you know, it's just Mercy being up here going, please shoot me, please shoot me, like that's all you're saying. It's just a good way to catch a bullet, catch some spam. No need to actually be up there. There's no benefit.
Welcome to Overwatch, Monsilly.
Hey,
Finished a big project for school, so now I can start watching the streams again. HECC. Hugs for everyone.
thank you, Agman. Man, Agman. It's appreciated, my man. 2 months. Give that man his 2 hypes.
Oh, fight. Huge.
I like how it. Have you guys watched Thor Ragnarok? I love that movie. Beautiful movie. Heartily recommend it. Very, very just. It's like a fun sort of Sunday afternoon movie, right? It's very light-hearted and fun. It's funny, amusing. There's a character called Korg. Korg is great. He's a very soft-spoken. No, not quite. Very soft-spoken New Zealand player. Hey guys.
Oh, fight. Huge.
For some reason, that your Zenyatta reminds me so much of him. It's just the Earth Shadow lands, and he just goes, huge. It's huge, man.
Reaper Discord.
Congratulations, man.
He's done.
Okay, man. It's huge, man.
Mercy. Nope.
Nice. Very, very simple. Point 2 and point 3. Isn't having a main tank a big deal? And like non-double sniper DPS comp? Funny how that works.
McCree, if
Considering there's still 10 minutes left in the VOD.
it's okay, you
Please, again, do not do this. If you are triple queuing, you can't
Welcome
all
to
play
Overwatch,
DPS.
Monsilly.
It's just a fact. Bacon-scented soap. Beautiful. Thank you for the 3 months.
look at my McCree one right. Don't lose. We don't lose.
Welcome to
And
Overwatch,
Sebby
Monsilly.
Jeans. Hugely appreciated. Beautiful use of that Twitch Prime. Ding.
That's good.
Again, if you want to send in footage, I need footage.
I also didn't
OM reviews.
because I didn't
It's all in the instructions. It's all in the instructions. Send them in.
Tracer, so you made up for it.
yes sir.
More recent the footage, the better. Don't send in more Mercy footage. We've just done Mercy now. We're doing Mercy now, so to speak.
I have a platinum.
There's actually one thing I do want to comment on as well. I don't know whether this is just the video, but it feels like the brightness is quite low. It adds a nice cinematic tone. It makes King's Row look all dark and mysterious. Just upping it a little bit wouldn't hurt.
Get it if you're like, I think gold border is max. Like I think past gold border. You should be like,
I have a buddy who
yeah.
People are discussing borders. You want quick play VODs? No. God, no. Well, this is not the Zenyatta's fault. This is the Reinhardt's fault. Important thing, if you are playing tank on First Point King's Row and you have a barrier, absolutely stand to cover people just sniping at the window. Great way to get a first kill. Great way to get a fast first kill.
Widow down.
Wow.
Oh, res it.
And luckily we get the res.
I thought it was behind shit. That's all my fault. I'm sorry.
Apparently Korg thinks he was at, like, it's not your fault, Korg. You're okay, Korg. No problem, man. It's my fault, man.
You're slightly out. Okay, cool.
There we go.
On Discord.
Widow's peeking bus.
I'm gonna recharge shield.
Okay, man. Sorry, I've got it just in my mind that, like, Korg is on your team.
Play over here. While Ryan's recharged.
Just stay behind the hotel, man.
Leave it half. I'm gonna get Zen Mega. I'm gonna go get her.
Don't worry, man. I'm gonna give you some healing. It's gonna be okay, man. Don't do this. No. Yeah. Again, we have this habit. This scares the shit out of me, guys. First and foremost, this is not your responsibility. This is an idiot about to fight 2 tanks on his own. Don't do this. Don't. No. Bad, sad, bad, wrong, frown town. Don't do this. This is all awful. I can tell you, as someone like who occasionally gets to play DPS every so often, there is nothing that makes a DPS happier, especially like a Widowmaker player or, McCree, Soldier, these sort of long-range heroes, than seeing something like a support just go, you know what, I'm going to just run over here. A, we're running next to a wall against the Pharah, so the Pharah should just be slamming rockets into us. B, even if you end up over there, you're completely isolated from your team. You can't get back there safely. We are very lucky to be alive, right? He's made his own stupid decision. He's going to die. You cannot help him.
You get the Mega Overwatch. Sorry.
Leave it Discord.
Heal me. I'm sorry.
Widow's at the top. Top
Leave it Discord.
Do we win this?
I'm with you, Ryan. I'm with you.
Monkey Discord.
This is so risky
Monkey on me.
for a baby diva.
Oh my god. I got slept in anti.
I still say you don't do that.
Discord.
As like your team's already kind of half won the fight, so it's.
Monkey Discord.
But I can just see like the Pharah just landing. Like this is already a juicy target. They should be killing this, so it's just like
Oh my god. I got slept in anti.
unnecessarily risky. And I think this is an important lesson for our player of the day, of Jazzberry. Jazzberry needs to learn, in my mind. Jazzberry needs to learn, in my mind, to let some players go. Right, as a support, you can heal a lot, okay, guys? You can heal so much. And, my heart goes out to my dear friend Sea Surfer. He's becoming a doctor, and he knows this. I'm sure he knows this by now, because he's done enough in-hospital work. You can heal many things. You can heal many ills. You can patch up wounds. You can heal, diseases and stuff like that. No problem. But you can't heal stupidity. Okay? And as a support, it's important to know and important to build self-confidence in understanding that you see the enemy, you see your team doing stupid stuff, and you go, you know what? I'm just going to let him do that. Because it's a good way to not only get your teammate killed, because he's already in a bad position, so you can't fix that problem. It's a good way to get yourself killed. It's a good way to get your team killed.
I got you. Let's get this monkey out of here.
Home 2018.
Monkey nice.
Don't get your team killed.
Get Zen.
Oh, thanks.
You drop down, leave it.
Oh, thanks, man. It's great, man. Oh, I'm back on my feet, man.
McCree, you're out.
Hey, Meek. And the central mindset to support Okay, if someone wants to make a play, then you can facilitate that, but they have to be able to facilitate keeping you safe and alive as well.
Hey, fair behind you guys. Yeah.
So, like, you can't go and safely fix that. Valkyrie now will be fine.
Diva Discord.
There's an interesting thing with Valkyrie. If you're in an actual fight, so the fight's begun, they have initiated, someone's dead, you're taking a lot of damage. Valkyrie's actually a good point to activate now, because the thing with Valkyrie is it not only gives you powerful AoE healing, it gives you very powerful self-healing as well. If you haven't dipped under 100 hit points, it's still quite hard for you to get one shot. And so once you activate Valkyrie, you're going to be regenerating really quickly. Instantaneous healing to your team. Now is the time for Valkyrie. And you can see like everyone's already super low. You lose one. Healing. Okay. So there's a way of stopping Pharahs using Barrage when you're playing Diva, where you just kind of fly at them, right? And they blow themselves up in their own rockets. When you're playing Mercy, that doesn't quite work as well. We just kind of float towards the Pharah. I mean, there's no real good locations for us here, but that just amuses me profoundly. I know Pharmacy is like one of the few non-trash ships in Overwatch, but that was not the time.
Hold him 1 second.
No, we're back to the Widow Hanzo. Okay. Okay, ooh. Get that large health pack. Ah. The mistake there was... Did we enter the pub or did we get knocked into it? We got knocked into it. You want to be very careful about getting anywhere near the pub. And the thing here to do is to dash to Reinhardt. That would just put you on a straight line. Once you get into this corner, though, it's done. This is not a big deal, though. Honestly.
I'm dead. That's terrible.
I'm dead, man.
Back it up.
Like, this... Not the biggest deal in the world. Like, they're still pushing around first corner. Still just getting through the first choke, so... They expended they expended Diva Bomb and Primal Rage for that. Okay, whatever. Don't give a shit.
I'm back with trans. Oh no. Look at Discord. Oh, they tried.
Was it really a huge shatter? Huge shatter. No. This is a good example, by the way, of Reinhardt forces a play. Team is still regrouping, right? I talk a lot when I talk about, you know, when I look at high level play and like what is the difference between high level play and what is the talk about, you know, what is the difference between high level play and low level play? And the biggest difference I always go to, and I think this is absolutely true, is that high level players think in terms of the fight. Okay, there's this central concept in Overwatch called the fight. And I think this is such an important idea that I'm going to like stop and just talk precisely about the fight. Everything in Overwatch pushes towards the fight. The fight, and what is the fight? The fight is actually not just, you know, what's happening here. This isn't actually the fight. The fight is generally 6 versus 6. Okay, generally it's 6 versus 6. Can be initiated when it's like 5 versus 6, but it's generally like a big 6 versus 6. Engage, fight, disengage, clean up, all that kind of stuff, all factors into the fight. But to get to the fight, we have to go through this process, right? So you have the fight in the middle. But, you know, if you lose a fight, so let's do it, oh, let's draw a weird S. But if you lose the fight, then you end up on this branch here, and you go down, and you have to regroup. And, like, this sort of applies... Oh, God. Regroup. And you have to go through this process. Okay, and then it's, like, prep. And then it's initiate. and then you have a fight. Okay? And you have to go through this cycle. You have to go through this cycle. If you don't go through this cycle, what happens here ends up happening. Where there was a fight, it was a really scrappy fight, but there was a fight nevertheless. Both supports died. The Hanzo has now died. And we sort of went through this phase. Regroup was started, but you're like halfway through regrouping, and then suddenly we jump to initiate. And what that looks like is exactly like this, where this is a good ultimate. This is a very good Earth Shatter in terms of just, you know, in isolation. This Earth Shatter hits several of their team, disables their tanks. But notice there's no follow-up, because one of the DPS is dead. The supports are still desperately trying to pick people up because they took a shitload of damage during that regroup phase. And so no one's ready.
Oh, they transcend.
Enemy team, even overreacts to this, but like, that is so lucky to get that result out of it. To get the triple diva kill.
They're nerfing Zen,
That's ridiculously lucky to get that diva bomb.
They have no shields. Huge.
You can't count on that. I feel invalidated, but you cannot count on that. The big idea though is to, like, if you cleanly go through that process of you regroup before the next fight, you set up properly, then what will end up happening is your fights will be cleaner and you'll win them more often, because if the enemy doesn't do that and doesn't respect the cycle, then they'll lose. They'll just engage too early and then they'll just lose. And they'll waste resources, they'll use ultimates inefficiently, and they'll keep losing fights.
Nice shots. Let me give you a shield.
So like at this point, like
Zen's this way.
this is prep regroup after a win, and now hey, look, we've regrouped. What's annoying me is the Hanzo's running off trying to be super cute, but
I think they're going around.
he can kind of do that. It's just that it leaves your team without any real DPS.
Nice shot.
Monkey Discord.
Back up, Oda. Back up. Need you on point, Diva.
Tracer.
Tracer Discord.
No.
Just res. Easy. Easy.
Diva Discord.
I'm stopping this.
Diva's behind you guys.
We could have Valkyried on the first engage as well, but
Monkey ulting.
like now isn't the greatest of times. It's not the worst time either.
Back up all the way.
I'm slapped.
Tracer's down.
Monkey.
I think you need to stay on that Zen. Well, it looks like the monkey's actually left him.
Low.
The reason why I say stay on that Zen
Tracer's down.
is because there's a Winston pressuring him down. If you you basically counteract the Winston's damage, so you can very easily just keep the Zen alive through all this. And if the monkey just focused him down, then I reckon this Winston would have traded for him, but
Monkey's one.
Diva's low.
might have been worth.
Come near, come near. Put the shield against me.
Honestly, if he dies, that's not a big deal, but...
Almost one. Oh, I'll get her.
They're both
Diva,
one.
come back,
They're both one.
Nice.
Diva.
And there's one man. Ah, man, get her.
Diva. I have a shield.
Their team just isn't engaging cleanly at all.
I think Diva has ult.
Lucio.
Just why we can out-heal stuff. Like, they're playing dive, so what we need to do is just be very aware of, whoever has taken a huge amount of damage at first, and then just put the healing beam on them as much as possible, and hopefully then try and get a res on them. That's how you sort of play Mercy to counteract dive.
Yeah, Diva, by me. Right here.
This,
Diva bombed the
I
shot.
don't like this at all.
Right here next to me.
Just Discord. She's on point.
Flanking us.
That's not good. I'm coming back. You're gonna. Okay, I'm not there. The trams.
Oh, I
You
got
got no healers. Don't use any ult. No ult.
That's bad. They're not pushing.
They're winning the fight, that's why they're not pushing the cart. Yeah, this is...
Coming back.
No, she's right here next to me.
So, how did this go wrong? Guys, if you're playing Reinhardt, you're playing the main tank role for your team. There's various people whose job it is to hunt down mobile targets in the backline. Reinhardt is not one of them. Consider this. If you imagine a situation where it's just you and you're playing Reinhardt and there's a diva on the map, and Reinhardt just tries to run after the diva, does the Reinhardt ever catch the diva? Ever. No. D.Va's faster. She has the rocket boosts. She can just go vertically wherever she wants. D.Va just gets away every single time. There's nothing, not a damn thing. You might go, but oh, he can charge, and it's like, yeah, she just like flies upwards and goes over him. She can like do 6 stunts on top of his head. It's not.
Yeah, dude, by me, by me.
Because what this does is now, well, we're fucked. Polo Tix is fucked. The Zen's fucked. Everyone's in trouble.
No, she's right here next to me.
Just Discord?
This D.Va has just absorbed a ton of attention.
That's not good.
There is a window here where you could have abandoned the D.Va, so this is again something that we should get into the habit of, and this is how you get value out of res more often than not. When there is a death instantaneously like this,
That's not good.
like a pulse bomb, checking and then like just instantly going and resing that would have been fine. And you might go, well, the team's without healing for a couple of seconds. The sort of 3-4 seconds that they'll be without healing, bring the Zen up at this point, like before the fight has started, would be worthwhile. And you got enough protection there. There's enough people around that the Tracer wouldn't be able to stick around.
Coming back. You're gonna. Okay, I'm not there. The trans.
Oh, I got no healers.
Because that could have been a transcendence.
That's bad. They're not pushing. They're not pushing cart.
I'm on cart.
Res is a very powerful ability. Getting it off just before a fight begins is a big deal and quite important.
Let me go up there.
Good call. Just reminding people that, hey, yeah, regrouping. You guys can contest this still. Nice.
I'm on transing. Oh, I got picked. Ride Discord.
Valk. Now's the time. Good. Bit slow. You guys are fine. You guys win. Easy. The reason why so there's an interesting moment here where Valking would have been a bad idea, and then a moment very soon after where Valking is a good idea. Let's talk about that, because Valkyrie is kind of an important ultimate to get right.
Oh, I got picked.
So this, I'd say, like, especially here, like, Valking's kind of a no-no in my mind. Why? Because there's a chance you activate and just instantaneously die.
Ride Discord.
Because you're on, like, 34 hit points. Then we get healed up, and now that we're at this high, and there's still, like, a lot of fighting happening on the point, now is the time. So, yeah. Once you get over that 100 hit points, then Valkyrie, like, you can use it and then just be active pretty much instantaneously, because you're not going to get one shot anymore, or it's going to be very difficult.
Nice job, but easy game.
That was a weird match. That was a weird match of Overwatch. There isn't, again, with Mercy, it's always a little bit difficult. There's never too much to talk about with Mercies.
Did you read that thing that Jeff posted?
Did you read that thing that Jeff posted?
Like if you try to quit while the cards are showing up, it doesn't make going to your
Oh, yeah, the queue time myths. Anyway. Oh, man.
match any faster.
This could have all been avoided. Right, what are the big takeaway lessons? Like, what are the takeaway lessons for our young multiplayer? Line of sight. Respect line of sight. Please, for the love of God. Rule 1 as support, like as any support, is respect line of sight. Do not the fewer opportunities you give the enemy DPS to kill you, the fewer times you're gonna die.
Discord.
Right, it sounds like super painfully obvious, but it's true. Okay, the less you're out in the open, the less you're gonna die overall, and the less you're gonna get caught out by like, oh, the Zen just held right click and killed. I can tell you for a fact that on defense, when playing Zenyatta, I make it a point to basically hold right mouse button and fire orbs like this across here, just in front of the statue, just to catch people like this guy. The amount of times it works is pretty phenomenal as well. Right, I specifically try and catch people doing this kind of movement here. No need to do it. No need to be this out in the open. First big lesson for us, I'd say. Second big lesson is don't be afraid to let people die.
We're all on this side.
Point. They're retreating.
Yeah, this pretty much precise moment over here should be. If people are going to do something stupid, like the McCree's going to run off to try and solo some tanks, like, no. And like we even call it out to him, but he does it anyway. Yeah.
Oh, she's healed.
And we know this. It's true also for when the diva was over here, for example. Like that was just in my mind that's a bit unnecessarily risky.
Heal me, heal me, heal me, heal me. I'm slapped.
I love people like that.
Widow's at the top
Diva.
I love people like that so much. Heal me, why do you heal me? It's like everyone's healing you. You idiots. You blithering fool. Yeah, this movement here.
Yeah, monkey on me.
You got her, Diva, you got her.
Oh my god, I got slept in answer.
Don't like it. Don't like it.
The monkey, get the
And then the third thing is just like, let's make use of all of our kit. Because quite often, for example, on the defense, I noticed this in particular, their Mercy was just a lot better than what we were doing in terms of getting reses off just consistently. If you're playing with a Widowmaker especially, this is why Widowmaker is such a big deal in the Overwatch League, and this is why Widowmaker is so powerful in Overwatch League. It's because Mercy, like, res has a big impact on how you play the Widow. Because Widow's so far back, she's often playing from cover or from areas where she's covered. You can very easily get reses off on her. So she's kind of, you have to kill her twice almost every single time. It's a very powerful combo. Mercy Maker, also non-trash ship. No, it's trash. It's also trash. Many trash ships in Overwatch. Too many trash ships in Overwatch. But just trying to get the value out of the res consistently, very big thing. You'd be surprised at the difference it makes in fights. Okay, guys. Now will be a good time to start asking questions. I'm going to go to this screen. Oh, I'm going to make my webcam appear. If you want to ask questions about Mercy, about supporting, about King's Row, when I find my... Where is the webcam? Webcam? Hello? Oh, it's called Video Capture Device. There we go. I'm going to set up Overwatch and then we'll answer some questions. Go on, this decayed mess of an account. Oh, God. I don't think the headache's fully gone. My eye is giving me problems still. It's making me feel nauseous, which is frustrating. I can see questions coming in. I think they're over here. There, look. Ooh. It's amazing. Technology. Your rank has been lowered. Because you're a pleb. You're a fool. See, let's turn down overall game sound. Oh, sound. Hero gallery. What was Mercy's last skin? I think it was the Chinese New Year one. Yeah, this one. That's what we got. Let's go with this thematically because we're on this. There we go. Have some Mercy hustle. Do the Mercy shake. Okay, questions. Let's do them. Let's do questions. You're not healing. You're delaying their deaths. Healers decide when you die. Actually, that's a kind of a big factor. Like you can actually play like that. As Mercy, that used to be like, oh god, I'm on the wrong thing, and I'm not showing up again. There we go. There's that, and there's me. No, not for fuck's sake. Oh, there we go. Okay. Guys, done already. I mean, it's a 17-minute Mercy video. It's not going to take long. Sorry. This actually can be very relevant. Like, there was a moment during the VOD where the Reinhardt, like, it's at the end of a fight, the Reinhardt's on, like, 50 hit points. At that point, if he dies, he dies. Like, whatever, you just res him. Res was literally just coming off cooldown as well, which is nice. So, you could, you can approach it like that. What I'd say is, the Mercy res doesn't actually give you, didn't they patch it so it doesn't give you any ult charge? It doesn't give you much anyway. It's definitely not as much as healing people. So just putting healing on targets is generally more efficient. The exception is if, like, the one exception is Diva. If Diva gets demech'd and she just dies, then that's actually quite good because you just res her, she gets a new mech instantly. Which is nice value. I know Mukanzo, also trash. Is it going to be a Brigitte meta? Depends if she gets nerfed or not. If she doesn't, then yes. I think Brigitte is going to have quite a big impact because she basically, like, Genji's already was on the downturn, but I think Genji just gets completely removed from the game if Brigitte comes in. I think Pharmacy could be more likely to see. Tanky comps probably more likely to see, even with the Reaper and May buffs. I don't think they'll do enough. And like Reaper isn't the answer to quad tank, for example. May could help against quad tank, but even then, I don't know. So I don't think the Reaper buffs help him against quad tank. Quad tank can deal with Reaper. Reaper's very good against like one tank or two tanks. Not very good against quad tank. Quad tank just blocks him with too much stuff. Death Blossom can't kill anything. It's not good. You need Junkrat. You absolutely need Junkrat to beat quad tank because you need the burst of the Reptile. Have you played Uprising or Retribution on Legendary? Yes, I haven't completed them on Legendary. I need to like harass Ryan and Miska. Why is King's Row so insanely popular as a map in tournaments? Does it suggest something needs to be changed about it, or do other maps just need to get better? Other maps just need to get better. The reason why King's Row is popular is A, it's one of the longest serving maps. B, a lot of stuff works on it. It's a fun map to play. Like, it doesn't have some of the frustrations that like Numbani has, for example. Numbani's a very unusual map. Like thinking of other hybrid maps, for example. Yeah, it's just a good all-round map. Like, a lot of team comps work on it, people know how to play it, and so it just becomes like the safe pick. And it's a lot more straightforward as well, mechanically, than something like Hollywood is, for example. Hollywood is a lot more complicated. Because King's Row first to King's Row second to King's Row third, you do see changes. Like, you do see some changes coming forward. So, like, first you generally see like the Hanzos, the Zaryas. You can play Junkrat there pretty effectively. You can play Pharah there pretty effectively. Junkrat's more popular at the moment. A lot works there. And then, like, second point, you can absolutely run Pharahs on that, for example. You can still run the Junkrats. The Hanzo's still good. Zarya's still good. Third point, you generally see Pharahs going away. Widowmakers can sometimes still cling on third point, but less so. And I'd also say, like, Widowmaker on second is also not quite so great. I'd say Widow third is better than Widow second. So, like, a lot of different team comps work. You can run a lot of different stuff. Yeah, it's just a well-designed map. It's just a fun map. And it's a sign that other maps don't quite have that same standard, don't quite have that same appeal. I think a lot of it is, like, high vertical cover mixed with not a huge amount of actual verticality is what leads to King's Row kind of being how it is. Well, it still has a number of decent flank routes. Like, second point especially, if you consider the schematic, it's like oh god, wrong color. Like, the main payload route is like this, like this, like this, like this, a little bit like this, and then like this, right? The main payload route looks like this. Okay, and then you have like the foundry here. But in terms of actual routes, you have like a pathway that goes around here, feeds into here. Excuse this crappy drawings. You have a pathway that literally like goes into a building here. That goes like that links onto this path up here. That also comes around to here. So you have like this building here that you can do stuff with. You have a pathway that comes even around to like here, for example, and goes even further over here. You have a pathway that goes around here. A pathway that goes up here. Like, there's so many different flank routes and ways to get around this, while it still has a very cohesive central corridor, that it works a lot in Overwatch. This is sort of, in my mind, this is the difference between King's Row and Junkertown, where Junkertown has like the main pathway, and getting behind and above and around that main pathway is actually very difficult. And getting behind where the enemy team wants to be is very difficult. And that's why you see the Bastions work better, because you generally meet the enemy head on, and that's where Bastion's good. Drink your water? I don't have water, I have Coke. For King's Row, the Bastion strat that Dallas used, can that be done in our games? Do you mean the first point one? Where it's like you try and set Bastion up, like the statues here, and you try and set Bastion up here and fire over here. The reason why that works is because of how pros, or in theory why that can work, is because pros like to hold within a reset on the high ground here, and that comp is designed to beat that. When you speed in here, you set up a Bastion, and you just like blow through this, and you try and get a couple of quick kills. That's how that comp works. On ladder, people don't usually defend like that, so it usually doesn't work. That's pretty much why. Will Brigitte be played as a traditional support or more like an off-tank? Probably just as a traditional support. People seem very resistant to the idea, for example, of running Brigitte. Like, I think you absolutely could run a triple support comp and run Brigitte as more of an off-tank. But I don't think people would do that. Especially if they're playing dive, like, that would absolutely be viable. How do you learn positioning? Just experience? Largely, yes. Keeping an eye on like Overwatch League, that's where Overwatch League is really useful. in general, VOD review is the best way to spot positioning mistakes, because you'll see, like, you'll watch it back and you'll go, why am I stood out there? Like, why am I stood there? Of course that's stupid. That's really dumb. I shouldn't be stood there. Like, that's when you'll notice that, like, oh, I have a habit of, like, running around corners for no reason, or running in front of the barrier for no reason. And if you just keep an eye on stuff like that, then that's how you improve very quickly. Then past that, it's like learning where the defensive positions are and stuff, and that's where Overwatch League comes in, seeing where the teams play, where the teams defend, watch where like the Zenyatas stand, for example. If you're a Zenyatta player, watch where the Reinhardts or Winston stand. If you're a Winston player, all that kind of stuff will just educate and just sort of round out your knowledge overall of the game. Watching just good players in general will always be helpful in learning positioning, and just focus on like where they stand and what they're doing. I am thinking of, like, you know, the natural follow-up is, well, I'm in silver and my team always stands in terrible locations. What do I do then? In general, I would suggest, like, spend as much time as you can standing in the good position. Just be ready to move to cover them if they're in the bad position. But what you'll find is, like, especially if you're playing main tank, and, like, your team is all stood super far forward, but you stand quite far back, and you just say, guys, I'm going to stand here. They have to adapt to you. And if they don't, they'll die. So, yeah. How should one practice tracking ult charge mid-match? In general, you should just... The best way to do it is to just focus on what your counterpart is. Unless you are playing, like, Zenyatta. If you're playing Zenyatta, then you should be... Like, the way I do it is I track myself against... I generally assume that the enemy will build ult charge the same rate I will. So, if they Dragon Blade and I trance it, chances are their Dragon Blade is going to come online at the same time my trance is going to come online. So then I can, if I want to relay that information, if they probably have Dragon Blade, then I know that. But it's also sort of, I know from experience that generally those two ultimates charge at about the same pace. Same with Graviton Surge, is usually a little bit slower, but you can just generally keep a hold of the trance for a little bit and then try and beat it out. Unless the Zarya is doing a ton of damage, sometimes she builds it very quickly. So yeah. Otherwise, like... Don't be like, if you are just playing a game and you're just playing through it and you're like going, okay, well, it's been a while since we've seen Death Blossom, so Death Blossom should be coming online around now. Like, just getting used to that rhythm in your head as well should be kind of important. Is Mercy the best main healer option for King's Row? Not a lot of vertical escape options. Not necessarily. Like, she's viable. She's viable on all the maps. Mercy's, like... Spoiler alert to every Mercy main on the planet that was whining like a little bitch about the Mercy nerfs. And, oh, Mercy's gonna be ruined now, oh, she's so terrible. She's fine. She's actually in a really good position at the moment. She brings unique value. She's still very strong with a lot of team comps. Mercy's pretty good in terms of overall power. She's still a little bit boring in my mind, but she fits in the game. I think she's fine on King's Row. You can still get a lot of reses off, for example, in King's Row because of the sight lines not being too huge. So there's generally ways of hiding around corners, picking people up, stuff like that. Yeah, I'd say you're absolutely okay playing Mercy. And like Valkyrie is going to be very powerful on King's Row. Because again, you can line of sight quite a lot and just stay alive, which is going to keep you nice and effective. Like in terms of other healers, like... Say Anna is a no on King's Row. Like, she's okay on King's Row, but it's too easy to like end up with a Winston just blocking off all your healing, and that's sort of the frustration with Anna. Moira is very good on King's Row, but again, main healer of Moira is like, Lucio's still very good on King's Row as well. Do you think Brigitte will get nerfed? In my opinion, she definitely needs it. What would you say needs changing? I think her damage overall just needs nerfing. And I know people say, oh, she should one-shot tracers. I don't necessarily agree. I think that she'll be fine dealing 120 damage to a tracer. She'll be fine dealing 100 damage to a tracer. The other thing I would like is if her barrier wasn't quite as free. So the biggest issue I still have with Brigitte is that if she whiffs, you can't do anything. Like, let's say you are playing Tracer, and you're playing Tracer versus Brigitte, right? And this is the Brigitte. And you're playing Tracer, and you're like, blink, blink, and you're like rotating around her. Like, you're doing amazing things. You're whooshing around her, and she charges, but she missed. Oh no, Brigitte's missed her charge. This is pivotal. This is surely Tracer's moment to kill her. No, she just holds right mouse button. she's still healing while she's doing it as well. I think that's what annoys me, is that she, like, as long as she's hit once or twice with either a left click or a whip, she's still outputting healing with her barrier up. She's still moving freely. She's still functional, but she's just completely at 100% protected. And there's no downside to it at all. And then she just waits 5 seconds and does it again. And it's like, there's nothing fun about that. There's nothing fun in that engagement. If you're fighting a Moira, for example, and you put a ton of bullets in the Moira and the Moira fades away and then uses Heal Orb, Moira is out. She can't do anything else. Like, you see it in pro games a lot when the Moira uses Fade and everyone just focuses on her. So it's like, you know, drill down and focus on the Moira after she uses the cooldowns. Brigitte doesn't have that vulnerability. And like Anna, you bait out the grenade, you bait out the sleep dart, and suddenly she's vulnerable. There's none of that to Brigitte. There's no weakness. And that annoys me quite a lot. Moira versus Mercy and Anna, lol, provide big heals. How do you choose one over the other? The issue that Moira faces is that she runs out. So like Moira will just burn dry eventually. So in long fights, Moira gets a lot weaker. Mercy in general is... So the times when you're playing Mercy is if you have a Pharah, like Mercy's just better. If you have a more split team comp as well, Mercy's a lot better at sort of dashing around to people and picking them up. Moira is less good at that. And then it's partially personal preference. Like, I would always pick Moira over Mercy. I don't like playing Mercy. She's one of my weakest heroes because I just get bored and do stupid things. Yeah, I don't like playing Mercy. So it's... You can play Mercy in a lot of instances where you'd be able to play Moira as well. It's a matter of personal preference more than anything. Anna is a lot more unique. I'd say Anna is like specifically on maps where there are long sightlines and that you have a team that's willing to cover you every so often as well. Anna, you generally have to like know why you are picking Anna and what reason you're picking Anna for to get value out of Anna. She still has, I think, one of the lowest win rates. Let's see if I can actually check that at the moment, but I imagine it's still true. Don't see why it would have changed. If I look at supports, so these are the support win rates. Symmetra is actually lowest. Pick rate, win rate, yeah, win rate kind of says a lot, right? Still the lowest. I mean, this is across all. If we just focus on like Diamond, still quite low. Master, still quite low. Grandmaster, somewhat low. Like relatively low. And then the further down you go, like Anna's win rate is abysmal. Notice that Moira like jumps significantly. Like Silver Moiras apparently are terrible. Who knew? Who knew? Wow, gold Moiras ridiculously low. It's actually pretty balanced though across all of them. Being fair, like that's not much variance. So easy to get fooled by the positions, but still pretty even across the board. Notice that Moira's pick rate and her win rate aren't proportionate, by the way. Like, her pick rate is way higher than Lucio's, but her win rate doesn't quite reflect that. Until you start getting to these higher tiers. And, yeah, Anna's still... Like, Anna needs a love tap. She needs just something. In my mind. King Throw the Dust 2 of Overwatch is one of the favourite maps Zarya is viable on. Yeah. Where else would you recommend Zarya, as I'm getting bored playing D.Va? Well, D.Va just got nerfed, so that's quite nice. Command Center on Lijiang Tower is like the first map that springs to mind. Very Zarya-centric map, very powerful map for Zarya. Other than that, being honest, because it's ladder, you can probably get away with playing her in a lot of places. 2CP is actually pretty good for Zarya, especially Anubis, because you are so pivotal with the Graviton Surges. And just say avoid her on defense, like picking up Roadhog or D.Va is fine on defense, but other than that, like with D.Va's nerf, I think Zarya should see an uptick in play. The discussion about Mercy seems to have died down a bit with everything going on, but I still feel icky about her res being a simple ability on 30-second cooldown since it's so valuable. What do you think about the talks about earned res and ability like Torm's armor? I'm fine with it being on 30-second cooldown, to be honest. as interesting as it would be to add like another mechanic to Mercy, it would just be a timer by a different method. And the thing with res as well is you want to have it very, very regulated. So what I would not like to see is like, you know, you win a team fight and Mercy picks up tons of resources and then has like 4 reses or some shit. Like that would be just ridiculous. So just because especially it's like on 1 cooldown, that you only get 1, like having it earned just doesn't feel right. Like, I think Mercy's okay. Like, the slow res, you need your team to cover it. You're only going to really get it when someone dies in the right place. So it only really works with specific heroes. Very punishable, very easy to sort of get a kill on her if she's too greedy with it. Like, there's a lot of good stuff with it. Because full dive comp, which tank would be a better pick as a hook target? I just generally go with Winston. Like, I will generally just try and smash the first thing that lands in front of me, to be honest, if I'm playing Roadhog. So... like, hooking the D.Va is one thing, but the D.Va will generally just, like, defense matrix immediately after anyway. So what I find is if you hook Winston and pull him slightly to the side as well, and then just hammer left clicks into him, it pushes him away instantly. Like, he can't stay there. D.Vas are usually not so precise to cover the Winston as well, properly, so you can generally get a lot of work done. And if everyone just tunnels the Winston, he will die instantaneously. Tilts the shit out of their team, leaves them vulnerable, it's pretty good. Caffeinated drinks like Coke dry you out something else? No. They don't. Common misconception, right? Very common misconception. Like, people say, oh, you shouldn't drink beer when you're in the desert, for example, you know. I'd say you're out in the Sahara Desert, you have nothing to drink. Nothing at all, you're parched. Oh, I'm dying. Oh, I can't. Oh, no. And you're going to die of thirst. And you discover in the sand a cup of coffee, like a thing of Starbucks, and a can of beer. Drink them, okay? Absolutely drink them. Yes, they are both diuretics, they both make you want to pee, but the amount of fluid you gain, the fluid content you gain, vastly outweighs the fluid that you would lose. And then your body would already be in panic water conservation mode, so the diuretic wouldn't actually have that much of an impact. So yeah, like absolutely. Like, if you need fluid, like, just drinking fluid that is drinkable, you know, not a poison, will be fine. It's not optimal, but it works. I'm a support main, stuck at around 2.5k. Any suggestions for which support hero to focus on to climb? Moira? Moira is probably the best one to climb with. The reason why I say Moira as well is because A, she's less passive than a lot of other supports, so you can weigh up, like, if your team needs more DPS, you can focus on doing more damage. If your team needs more healing, you can focus on doing more healing, and being very flexible with Moira gives you a lot of awareness. The hard part with Moira is that, you know, sometimes she's not the most effective. D.Va especially will shut her down. If we do see a downtick in D.Va getting played, Moira's going to get even stronger. So yeah. So yeah, like I would say Moira, absolutely. As a mostly Lucio main, what tips do you have for peeling and managing his cooldowns? In general, like, okay, Lucio cooldowns are really important. The biggest thing is not to get baited into using Amp It Up unless you need it. So, for example, if a team is just taking like minor poke damage, there's a temptation almost to just hit Amp It Up immediately. Don't do that. Just let your passive healing pick people up. Because if you do that, Amp It Up is like a really powerful heal output. Like, what is the exact numbers? Amp It Up numbers. Lucio. I wonder if this is out of date. Because I'm not actually sure on the specific healing numbers for Lucio. I know it's significant, however. Amp It Up, 46.8 health per second on allies, apparently. Yeah, it's about 50 heals per second. It's powerful. It's a powerful heal compared to the, like, 15 health per second or whatever it is that you normally get. And it's on quite a long cooldown. It's like 12 seconds, I think. Yeah, cooldown 12 seconds. So it's a very powerful ability, right? Getting it right is super vital. Because if you then need it to engage or to do some emergency healing and you don't have it, Lucio's really weak. A lot of high-level play actually does revolve around the idea of baiting out Amp It Up and stuff like that. Like baiting out Amp It Up, baiting out the healing field, biotic field, baiting out these abilities, and then you do an engage. Like, a lot of the high-tier dive will revolve around poking Lucios and poking soldiers to force them to use those cooldowns, and then engaging afterwards because they know that they don't have those heal cooldowns, so they're going to die faster. Very important idea. So that's like the big one. The other one is let's talk about how to deal with Dragon Blade as Lucio. So the way that Dragon Blade works is the first thing you got to remember is that after the blade is drawn, so like Genji will like say jump, he'll draw his blade, right? This is a sword. He'll draw his blade and then he will dash. Okay, that is the one dash he has. After the blade is drawn, he only has one. He'll dash and then he'll generally kill someone. So there'll generally be a dead person. And then he'll dash again. The key to stopping Dragon Blades as Lucio is that after that dash, but between the kill, you interject a boop. Because then the target is knocked, Genji is knocked away, and you use speed or healing, mostly speed, to run away from the Genji. The Genji then has no gap closer anymore. He has to just run at the target. And yes, he has increased movement speed, but it's not enough to match the Lucio. So you can pull people away and get them out, and that's how you survive Dragon Blades. Very important idea. Hey, Juice Cherry.
Just got off work and wanted to say thanks for coaching my VOD. And sorry I couldn't watch it live. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts.
She sounds drunk. She sounds drunk. You're very welcome, Juice Cherry. Thank you so much for the 100 bits. Good stuff. About the first point King's Row when Zen got picked by Widow, why wasn't it Zen's fault? Ryan couldn't move left without exposing McCree that was trying to shoot her. I think he could have, actually. Like, the thing with this is this, so if we just very quickly draw a schematic, first point King's Row. Actually, let's try and, like, be fancy. First point King's Row overhead. Do we have a good overhead view of just the first point? Doesn't look like it. I mean, there's overhead views. How high res is this? No, that's common turret location. What? Oh god, I hate the fact that like Google changed its bullshit. Copy image address maybe. There we go. King's Row. Right, this is King's Row. Oh, excuse me. King's Row first point. Okay. So the Reinhardt was stood like here, and like half. Well, he wasn't even quite stood there. He was like stood like here, and so the Zen was like around here to try and hit this. Right? The Reinhardt was not positioned quite well enough where he can actually stand here, and then if people just stand close enough to the barrier, then that's where it matters. It's very important to kind of do this correctly because that Zen can kill Widows, can kill anything on the way out. Gives yourself some ult charge as well. Like, it's a very, very nice little bonus to the Zen. So you really want to do this. It's just a matter of optimizing. But it is partially the Zenyatta's fault. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to completely absolve him of his sins. But it's also a mixture of, like, making sure that basically you want to just plug the barrier. You see, like, this corner here? If I actually use, like, zoom in super far. Oop. So if you use this, if you see this corner here, like this is where your barrier should be like plugged into, basically, to give yourself the most barrier real estate to play with, and then people should be stood right behind it so they don't get like angled over it. Yep. So how would Mercy change if her ult kept instant res from before, perhaps a much quicker res? She'd be overpowered again. Res is incredibly powerful. If her instant res is back, then instantly overpowered. You can't punish it. You can't stop it. No. Location is this. How are you? Bad. Still have like half of that headache. It's still kind of lingering. Like I felt really sick towards the end of the coaching VOD, which was nice. Still have a slight cough as well, but we'll muddle through. We'll muddle through. Don't worry. Why is it okay for Zen to one-shot people, but not Briggy? Yeah. Zen doesn't have safeties. Like, Zen is literally glass. So if you get to Zenyatta, then he's going to just die. The thing with Brigitte is that if she misses, like, if Zen misses his one-shot, he's dead. Right? If he fires off his right-click and doesn't kill you, then he has to, like, spam you down with left-clicks and hope. And basically, he's using an FPS skill because he has to aim and land his shots onto your head to kill you. Right, so if you're in a one-on-one duel with Zenyatta and he wins, you go, shit, he hit me several times and I died and I lost. Okay, fair enough. If you're fighting Brigitte, and Brigitte hits you, Brigitte misses you, barriers up, waits. Again, stun, hit, whip, dead. Do you feel outplayed? Do you feel like she mechanically beat you? Do you feel like she did anything that... Do you feel like she did stuff better than you did? The only answer you have against a Brigitte is to run. Or to try and, like, blow down her barrier. Like, those are your options. Those aren't fun. Those aren't fun options. So Zen can do it from 1,000 yards away? Yeah. No, being fair, if you're in a position where you're getting sniped off by Zen from 1,000 yards away, then you should be around a barrier, around a corner, you should just be a little bit more careful. Like, it will happen every now and then, but Zen, like, is super vulnerable. I think shield bash breaks her shield, it has to recharge. Or, like, she moves super slowly with the shield. Or, like, she can't hold the shield up for long. Like, you can only have the shield up for 3 seconds. That will be interesting. So, yeah. My issue with Brigitte, again, is she has a low skill requirement with high amounts of safety. And she's just not interesting. Like, when I played it for the first time, it was like, okay, well, this is neat, but not, like, it didn't excite me, you know. I wasn't like, oh, I'm a Brigitte main now. It was just like, okay, this is a hero that I'm probably not going to play a huge amount, and I find short range, like, very weird. Yeah, it's just... Someone say drinking every liquid? No, yes, not. This is why I said not toxic. Right. There was a really high res overhead map someone did on Reddit. Yeah, there's probably them floating around. Which pro Mercy would you suggest watching to learn from? Any other pro support players to learn from? In general, like any Overwatch League player, pro Mercies, the thing with pro level players who play Mercy is they probably won't be playing Mercy on the ladder, so it's kind of hard to watch. EVA, she streams a lot. She's a high profile Mercy. Absolutely a good place to watch. Does Animatics? I think Animatics sometimes streams as well. Cubes with Buckle a lot. She's very strong as well. So yeah. That Brigitte complaint reminds me a lot of Hook 1.0 complaints. Partially, but again, I think the fundamental issue I have with Brigitte is that it's like there's no punishment. Again, that I think that's what gets me. It's that there's no punishment. With Hook 1.0, when Hook 1.0 missed, you still had a good couple of seconds to shoot the Roadhog. And like he couldn't even do his huff while moving back then. So he had to like stop and heal slowly. So you generally got a shitload of ult charge out of it, for example, and just like blow it up. Custer plays are on stream as well? Yeah. Custer's always a good place to go, I think, for support info. So it's like with Hook 1.0, Roadhog would fire the hook, and then it would miss, and then you could shoot the Roadhog and do stuff to the Roadhog and abuse the Roadhog. With Brigitte, it's like she charges and then she just puts a barrier up. She's fine. And if she's done damage, if she's like done a whip shot as well, she's still healing. She's still outputting. It's not like, you know, Moira, when she's holding right mouse button, has stopped healing her team. It's not like Mercy, if she's running away from you, isn't healing her team. No, Brigitte's still healing. She's still doing stuff. So that to me is very frustrating. Cruz, yeah. Cruz is support now. So yeah, Cruz as well. Also, if you sub to Cruz, you get a beautiful Chris emote. I have it. Look at that. Look at Chris. Isn't he beautiful? Big Chris. Yeah, I think that'll do it for questions. I don't see any more. I can whine about Brigitte a lot. There we go. So, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'll say it now, one more time, for your benefit. Send footage in. I need footage for coaching the many. OEMreviews@gmail.com. Send it in, including the title, the hero name, the rank, and if you're a sub or not. Subs have slightly higher prios. It's my way of giving back to the people who are paying for me to do my job, effectively. So absolutely send in footage. As I need footage, because Coaching the Many went on hiatus for a little while. It's good to have it back, but I need more footage. include in the thing a description about, you know, the game, why you sent this footage in. Don't send it in, oh my god, I owned all these noobs, check me out, and that's not interesting, that's not exciting. The best way to get my attention is to have something like, you know, oh, I don't know why I lost. That's usually the best way to get my attention is, I don't know why we lost this game. If you have like Bastion, Hanzo, Mei, Reaper, and your team was fighting against Safara, then sure, I can probably figure out what happened, but yeah. Current footage, yeah, more recent patch the better. And don't send in Mercy footage as well. We just did Mercy, so hey. Did you get my email? It was Midgard Soldier on Blizzard World. I can check. Again, because like a lot of the emails I've received, like